All right, y'all. Michelson, Laser Vision. You owe it to yourself if you're in glasses or contacts. I am telling you, you owe it to yourself to go and find out if you're even eligible. Because truthfully, and I say this all the time because I don't want you to get your hopes up. Some people aren't. You're just not a good candidate for a number of reasons. The good news is with the Contura system that they have online at Michelson, more and more people are good candidates. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I would not have done it if I had not gone and done the consultation and did the exam and found out that I was an easy candidate. That gave me a lot of encouragement. I was a little bit nervous about it, but once I understood it, I was less so. And y'all, it was the easiest thing. Just very little difficulty afterward. Just that night, just had to sleep it off. It didn't even. It doesn't hurt. People always said, "Does it hurt?" It doesn't really hurt. It's sort of irritating, like there's smoke or something. Your eyes just feel a little bit irritated. Other than that, you sleep it off the next day. You're crystal clear, and it's really life changing. If you ask me, it was completely life changing. I'm 2015, going on I think 7 years now. Michelson Laser Vision, the only place I would have you go. That's because I trust them, and I'm a patient, and I can vouch that they did great by me. It's Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands. Dr. Mark and his daughter, Dr. Jennifer, the two Michelson doctors in the practice, and that wonderful team around them, michelsonlaservision.com. All right, AJ, is Shannon still there? She had some comments about the lottery, and I kind of left her hanging. Is she still there?
I'm I'm
Hey,
here.
Shannon. All right, so
Hey,
yeah, where
hey.
where we left things, where there's just a tremendous lobby that gums up a traditional lottery bill every
Yep.
time it's proposed. Now let's go back and talk about this education lottery phrase. Okay, now I've got deep history here. In 1990, I was living over in Georgia as a little young TV reporter, and Zell Miller was running for governor, and he needed a gimmick to win in that state. Democrats weren't what they were now, so largely the South was still pretty Democrat Party. And
Right.
his gimmick was, I'm going to propose an education lottery. And that's what he started calling it. And it didn't compete with any other gambling. They had a plan for the money to go to
Right.
kindergartens and technology and college scholarships.
Hmm.
The college scholarships were probably the um, most popular thing in Georgia. Now, the truth is, it didn't really pan out. By the time they got the technology installed, the technology was out of date. Once they started giving free scholarships, high school started padding the grades of the high school kids just to make sure they didn't. You had to have like a C average, so they were padding grades. You had all these kids show up in the colleges with for a free
Right.
education, and they weren't ready to learn. The schools were just turning into warehouse. It wasn't necessarily a
Right.
good thing. Then you go to the money itself, and the amount of money, at least a few years ago, that a lottery could generate, even on its own, in the state of Alabama is only about $90 million, and that is spit in a bucket with our gigantic education budget. So it wouldn't help anything, and you'll never convince me that the government can do anything better if they had more money. So I
Right.
wish I wish they would just drop the nonsense that it's going to go for some worthy cause. They're going to blow it,
Right.
rob it, spend it, waste it. Just call it a lottery,
Yep.
be direct about it, and put it on the ballot. But to do that, you got to get through the legislature, and it's a toll booth down there. And the powerful people that control the
Right.
lobbyists are never going to let them put a clean bill on the ballot. I'll be stunned.
Right. Yeah, what we're going to end up with is a terrible bill that
Yep.
does nothing for students. And I was looking just in researching, we spend I think it's an estimate 6,000 per student in Alabama for education. K through 12, and we're spending. I think it said 34,000 per inmate in these mega prisons, and so it's just so sad to see that we're not able to pay our teachers. We can't compete with Georgia. And even though it may not be a complete success over there, from what I have read, 70% of the students are going off to college now in state, whereas only 23% of black students in Alabama, 35 white, and 10 less than 10% Quartz Creek Indian demographic are going off to college or getting their tuition paid for, or
Yep.
whatever, going off college. So it's just terrible to see that we are going to continue to suffer because of our politics. And up until this year, we've only had $400,000 from Porch Creek PAC that I could track down. I'm sure there's a lot more than that, but this is just that one pack that goes
Oh,
towards
they
politicians.
got packs you wouldn't even know are there. They're called something else.
Oh,
They're not called
yeah, it's
Horse
hard to
Creek Gambling
research.
Pack. It's like Alabamians for a brighter tomorrow, but it's really
Yeah,
gambling money. They do that all the time.
it's right.
Here's the other thing about that too. One of the other problems you have in Alabama would say free college scholarship tuitions for in-state kids is the
Right.
school, particularly Alabama, got big on this a few years back, and I think Auburn is in on the same game now, and some of the other schools. But those are the two big ones that we know most about. But Alabama came up with a business model to start trying to get out of state kids. And
Right.
so, and it's why they're building dorms like crazy, and the student population's almost doubled since I was in college. And a lot of
Yep.
that is our kids from other parts of the country because they pay full ride.
Exactly.
They don't get any offset. The school makes a lot more money off those kids, and they are not going to open up doors to these discount Alabama kids with their free scholarships and turn down the kids coming from other parts of the country that
Yeah,
are
I think they said
extremely
over
lucrative.
50%. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
it
huge amount.
and I guess that's okay. They're running an institution that needs to be funded and staffed, and they're growing, and
Right.
there's a lot of good upside to that too. But as far as lottery kids showing up, poor kids that couldn't afford to go to school, that make their grades, and us thinking that's going to happen, call me cynical,
Right.
but I've already lived through this and seen that it's just not going to happen. You just get your kids to study hard and apply. And there are lots of good scholarships available to in-state kids,
True.
but they're competing
True.
with the out-of-state kids right now for sure.
Well, the teachers are just not being paid enough, and they're working two jobs to pay their college debt off. Surely, I mean, I'm not, with the Democrat Party, do you think there's a chance that we could do something with both sides of the aisle, or do you think it's just totally undoable
Well,
to
the
get a sponsor?
Republicans control. I don't think it. No, you'll get a sponsor. You're just not going to get anywhere with it. You'll have people
Oh,
lined up. There are plenty. I know guys down there now that'll say, "Yeah, I'm for a clean lottery," and I think they mean it. But what happens is they all understand how it happens. They'll put their bill in, but it'll get killed in committee, or they can't get it on the calendar to get it voted on. There's so many
right.
procedural ways to kill something off that doesn't have a
Oh,
big
yeah.
push. Now, look, if there were a big national, excuse me, not national, if there was a big outcry in the state, rallies going down,
Right.
Tea Party style stuff going on, they were showing up to town halls and people were
Right.
setting them on fire over wanting a lottery, and there was that kind of public passion, they'd be a little afraid of the public on that issue. But we've been here so many times. I think Alabamians have lottery fatigue, and we're so surrounded by gambling, it's accessible.
Right.
Some people just drive across the state line and do it anyway, and they're just have given up on a
Right.
clean lottery. So, yeah, there's that. All right. Did we lose Sharon? All right, Sharon, good call, good questions. It is an issue in front of us with the legislature being in session. Now, so far, what I'm hearing coming out, since we're talking about legislature, and then I'll get Annie's call in here, what we see coming out down there, some of the early bills, it's all tough on crime. It's an election year, so they're not going to do anything super risky. They're all going to look like they're ready to, lock them all up. And we'll have all these bills floating around. One of the more interesting bills right now is, and I'm understanding the a Democrat proposed this, and you've got Democrats opposed to it. So it's kind of started on their side. But it's this bill to, I guess, protect kids whose parents use weed. Part of one of the bills, and I haven't read the whole thing, so I'm a little bit ignorant on it, but I'm listening to the surface coverage, and one of the bills would allow teachers to call DHR if a kid showed up at school smelling like weed. Now, I know it could be the kids themselves smoking weed, but I mean, and I get it. Some of these teachers and parents are reporting they got like a first grader, a 6-year-old sitting there, and he comes in smelling like weed because mom was puffing all the way to school. They want to be able to have DHR check that out. So naturally, there's going to be fierce opposition to that from some quarters. To me, that's one of the more amusing bills, but also potentially a tragic situation if that's going on in people's families. But yeah, they'll do some good stuff down there. There's some bills to, for example, not allow juvenile status on certain crimes that involve murder or capital murder, and that's kind of a no-brainer. But it's also, again, an election year, and it's easy to, to act like you're Batman in the legislature and you're going to get all the criminals and then go home and ask for the vote. But at least that's how some things get done. Now, in between those sessions is when they try to sneak in tax hikes and giving teachers their union dues back on the paychecks and doing all the sneaky stuff that the Republicans have become known for down there. It used to be Democrats, but as soon as the parties changed jersey colors, as soon as it became the, I guess you call them, if everything went Republican red, the lobbyists just started wearing red ties to work and started buying those guys out. And we're in the same kind of situation where a lot of moneyed interests are actually calling the shots down there. But you do have, you have some well-intentioned people. The one thing I would tell you lately that I think is an interesting bill that caused backlash where the people, grassroots people, had their say. And I thought of this when I was doing the lottery discussion, but it was that bill last year up on Smith Lake. And just a quick summary of it, and it's an oversimplification because I know some of the players involved in this. You had some developers get two senators. It was Jabbo Wagner and Garland Gudger. Garland, of course, in the leadership position. And they both have interest because Garland's from that district, and Jabbo Wagner has a house up there, famously. And so they got behind a bill to allow this massive development on Smith. And I think it was going to include a golf course and some, everything but a casino. But it was a pretty big development. They needed some legislation to enable it. And Gudger toted the bill. He got it through. It really went unnoticed until it didn't. And people up around Coleman County and the Smith Lake community raised hell until Gudger got the message. And immediately this session went straight in and got that old bill repealed to kill the whole deal. So the deal was dead, but they had to pull that thing off the books. And to his credit, he had to listen to people because they were setting him on fire. And that's what we want. If they mess around because we're not paying attention and some special interests get what they want, and the public needs to stay vigilant during these things. But sometimes people can raise enough noise. And by the way, Cindy Myrex up there won her election to the House over this very issue. And so, the people were heard in that matter, and their senator adjusted, and the rest is history. So that was, right out of the gate with him being in that position, they got this thing done. So that kind of made me a little bit happy. Not because I cared about either side of the issue, but that people spoke up and they had to listen. So I don't know if you had that kind of energy behind a clean lottery bill, you might get a shot at it. But my guess is hail to the no, because I've seen this since 1999 when Siegelman tried to do it himself. All right, Birmingham Broker bringing you the show, bhambroker.com, bhambroker.com. If you got a car to sell or a truck or SUV, I'm telling you, Craig needs cars. He'll reach out to me all the time and says, I need vehicles. I need y'all to get them down here. We got buyers everywhere. They've sold everything people have been able to buy them. They've gotten it sold. So one, that tells you how effective they are. It tells you it's a good market to sell. You're probably going to get top dollar right now. Interest rates have come down a little bit, and I think that's part of it. People are making financial moves now after being sort of paralyzed through the Biden years with the crazy, stupid stuff those people did to our economy. So let's go. Get down there and get this thing sold. They'll do all the work. You get the maximum check. That's life right there, man. Getting a lot of money for doing less. That's exactly what happens on a car deal if you work with Birmingham Broker. It's bhambroker.com, bhambroker.com. Y'all reach out and have them take care of you. Craig, Keith, any of those guys down there. Birmingham Broker, 3rd Avenue South, birminghambroker.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all, 251, Leland Live Talk 995. Let's do this thing again. Huey Tampon. Y'all have heard me talk about them so much since they came on board. It's cool to have a gun shop like this where it's really, let me just try to characterize it myself. It's a blue-collar gun shop. It's not one of these snotty places that sort of overcharge a little bit. And y'all know, you've been in some of these stores where they kind of talk over you, or if you're not a tactical expert, I mean, if you don't know the jive, I don't know, there's a kind of to be honest with you, it's kind of a macho culture in some of these places. You don't get that at Huey Tampon. If you're brand new to it, they want you to understand what you're getting into. It's a variety of things. So maybe it's hunting and you got something in mind for your hunting rig, whether it's sound suppression or scopes, all that in stock. They, of course, got a great line of personal carry weapons, all kinds, revolvers and some of the newer ones, and then pre-owned stuff that people have brought in. They've got a tactical wall with even some of their own branded products that they've got exclusive deals with that are tremendous buys, and well-built weapons like this ATI AR pistols. Now, I don't think Tommy sold out of these yet. I don't know how many he bought, but he's got these AR pistols in that are just amazing. So y'all decide if that's something you're interested in. And that right now, while they last, and they could be gone tomorrow, I'm not sure, but $349.99. You can't beat that, an AR platform at $350. So good value there. You could stock up and get a couple and get ready for the meltdown. I don't know what you need a weapon for. But what I will say is be responsible, train, know the laws, get an education on it. It's the other advice I have people talk to me a lot about this issue is when people are trying to decide what kind of handgun to buy, go for comfort. What happens is you get a clunky weapon, you get something macho because you want to be dirty, hairy, or your ego gets caught up in it and you want the larger caliber because that's a man gun. Well, you're not likely to keep certain guns in your pocket. You're just not. You're not going to carry a 1911 day to day in your shorts during the summertime. So concealability means you'll have it on you when you need it. And so make it comfortable, get the right holsters. They'll help you with all that stuff. So it's like one of the trainers that I've trained under in the past said, a 22 in your pocket is better than a 357 in the glove box if you're not in your car. So y'all reach out to Huey Tampon and let them help you get the right fit too, in addition to all the other stuff. They're in Brook Lane Drive in Hueytown, Huey Tampon. All right, let's beat on the Congress real quick. Here they go with this vote to sort of end this temporary shutdown. And this is so infuriating. Let me see. And this could cause it to get extended. Let me see if I've got this right. This just came across a few minutes ago that Senate Leader John Thune has called on the House Republicans to pass this funding bill tonight without the SAVE Act, pledging that the SAVE Act will get a vote in the Senate in the future. Let's review. I'm trying to, again, break this down into normal dialogue. So the SAVE Act is the bill that would, or I guess in this case, the attachment to the bill, the amendment that would create some very strict standards for voting in this country. I mean, just proper standards, voter identification, citizenship requirements, things like that to save the integrity of our elections. We just watched in front of our eyes an election get stolen in this country, and most people, now that we've got some hindsight, have come around to that. It was obvious at first. It was something you knew it happened, but it was hard to prove because they were hiding the evidence and distracting people with a bunch of nonsense. But it happened, and we're going to find out more and more about it as we move along. But even if that had not happened, we should have these provisions in place so that people trust our elections. Y'all, if we don't trust the elections, this whole experiment after 250 years is going to come unglued. So you don't have enough Republicans that have the stones to pass it in the Senate right now. And Thune is their leader, and he's sort of a milquetoast establishment type who's not very confrontational, except for some things. And so you have a bill for funding that was passed in the Senate that did not include the SAVE Act. There are members of the Republican Party on the House side that want to shove the SAVE Act into this bill, into the funding bill, to get it passed, and then forcing the Senate to come back and have to vote it up or down. This would be it'd be filibuster proof if it goes back to the Senate, because they're dealing with a funding mechanism of this type. So try not to get too technical with the description. So basically, the House tonight could pass a clean version of what the Senate did, avoid an extended shutdown. The president signs it, and the government's technically back open by tomorrow. But there's some House members, including this Paula. I always get her name wrong. Is it Paula Luna? I want to say Paula Abdul. It's Paula Luna, Christina Paula Luna, or something like that. I like her. I'm just blanking on her name right now. She's trying to force a group in the House to delay anything moving through the House tonight until they include the SAVE Act. Thune has now weighed in saying, no. Pass what we sent you. Let's get this over with. And I promise, pinky swear, we're going to have a vote on the SAVE Act in the near future. Well, when? Well, the near future. Well, what is that? This decade or next decade, next century? What is near future? That's a relative term. So I don't think Thune is trusted. We know he doesn't have, he's got too many flakes in the Senate with their thin majority that could easily peel off. Murkowski, usual suspects. Collins, probably, anytime Rand Paul could go squirrely or sideways, or one of these other guys in the Senate. So he doesn't have his numbers. And what I do know about Thune is he's not going to allow something to come to the floor just to watch it get defeated when he's supposedly for it. He says he's for it. He says he's for the SAVE Act. So it's the two chambers fighting with each other over a common sense bill. As frustrating as it is, though, if you know your history and understand how our government works, it's supposed to be this way. The two chambers do have a check on each other. And our ability, even though they find way when there's this is back to the lottery discussion, when there's money on the table for the people that gave them campaign contributions, they get that spending done. They'll get those things done. That stuff's in there. The pork, you got Republicans voting to restore some of the stuff Doe's cut, which is nothing but money laundering propaganda stuff for the Democrats. You watch, the Republicans will participate in restoring USAID. NPR will be back in business, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. My guess is 5 years from now, it'll be back, fully funded. They don't really mean it as a group. As a group, they don't really mean it. So they find these little ways to put up a fight, but not actually win any fights. And so this budget standoff is just another one of those occasions. Now, the Democrats didn't get anything out of it because they're not going to get ICE defunded. That's just a ploy. But here the Republicans are trying to use what leverage they have in the House to get the right thing done. And I just don't think Thune's word on the House side is going to be enough. We're watching them this afternoon. We'll let you know when and if that vote goes down. Lead on Live, Talk 995. Y'all stay tuned. Back here in just a minute. 545-9950 if you want to be on the show. Let's go. Lead on Live.